what I've really found amazing is the worldwide audience that I've had. Some say, well, I got a free room, I got free meals, I got a free concert. Well, we know nothing in life is free, right? Comps aren't either, right? I had no idea. It just said jackpot, and I'm looking at the machine and lights are going off, and I look up and it's the very top one.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the SlotsFan podcast. On this show, we talk to slots content creators about their channels, their biggest wins, and their casino tips for having more fun, more safely in the casino. And today we've got an awesome guest. It's Matt from Money Matt Slots. Welcome to the show, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always say before we get started, we're going to share a link to your channel in the description of this video. Please, everyone that's watching, check it out. Watch some of the videos. Check out the lives in particular. They're really entertaining and a fantastic group, especially in chat. If you like participating in a community chat, from what I saw on your channel, it's really, really strong there. So thank you again for joining us. And we talked a bit before the show, but I always kind of start out by asking people how they got into this. You mentioned that you're a commercial pilot, you're flying all over the place. I can only imagine that gives you an opportunity to maybe visit some casinos. So how'd you get into slots and how did you get into actually starting your own channel?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love the channel. It's really great to see other channels out there doing this with you. And of course, it's a amazing community of slot influencers and just gamblers in general and slot players. So for me, it probably starts well over 25 years ago, not with slots, if you can believe it. And I mention this every once in a while when I'm doing lives or sometimes in my videos. It all started for me with blackjack. I became a card player back in Las Vegas when I first visited, probably in 97 was maybe my first visit there. So I guess that's over 25 years ago, and I don't want to date myself. I just started playing blackjack and really learned the game and had a lot of success there. And all of my friends were playing slots. And I used to be one of those guys of just thinking, well, the better odds are probably on a table that I can potentially have the outcome. I can ask for a hit, I can stay, I can, double down, I can play the blackjack and the cards. And, I was more involved in that process. And here they were having a great time at slots, and I'd sit at a blackjack table for 8 hours and 10 hours and, either walk away, losing my bankroll or winning a little bit. But that's really how it all started. And slots for me was probably just about 3 or 4 years ago, believe it or not, where I just kind of made the transition. It became a hobby of mine because of my friends. Again, I'll blame them. And of course, my interest. And believe it or not, the Wheel of Fortune, a quarter denomination, 5-line Wheel of Fortune. And never forget at the Luxor Casino in Las Vegas. And I think the at that time, the biggest win I had was maybe a couple $100. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is easy. It's not. And so that really kind of put the bug in me. And just all the different games of slots and what are out there. And it was just so fun. And the thrill of all of it, the noise, the, excitement of it. Every time we get a bonus, we'd all scream as a group, wheel, fortune. Everyone would look at us like we've won, $1 million or something. And, that's probably when it really started. And then I started branching out to some of the other games that I was seeing a lot of people play in the casino. Really wanted to learn it. Obviously it's a random number generator. We know that. You're really just playing for luck and having a good time. So it kind of just became a hobby of mine and something I was really enjoying doing. And my son started coming with me and, I would talk during bonuses to the machines and just have this conversation almost no matter if he's there or anyone else is around me. And then one day he just said, this is probably 3 years ago or so, 3.5 years ago. He's like, you should do like a YouTube or record these videos. And, and then here we are. The rest is kind of history.
Had you been familiar or had you seen other slots, YouTube or social media at that point? Or what was like, did seeing other people doing it help you understand what it was all about and get you into it?
Yeah. So I've been on YouTube. I had another channel, or I guess, you have to subscribe and join YouTube to maybe like and comment on some things. And I had another more personal channel for other things. And of course, I would see the big channels, whether Mr. Handpay at that time. I think the big jackpot. Who else? NJ was out. NJ Slot was out there. Raja from the big jackpot. NG. All these really big channels. Brian Christopher. I mean, the list goes on of some of the almost the original YouTube slot channels and influencers that were out there. And you'd see that, and you'd see their style of play, and they a lot of them are really good about walking you through how to play the machines and what to expect, and big wins, small wins, big bets. Maybe not really small bets with them, but just the idea of how to play slots and what games they were playing, and it really was interesting to me. And so I just kind of wanted to jump on that. I guess you could say maybe bandwagon, or just join the crowd of, hey, let me play some of these other various slot machines, and really found the same interest and thrill that a lot of them were already having on the machines. So for me, it was just kind of recreating some of that experience I saw on YouTube, and this, in my style, my bankroll, my budget, and really just having fun with it and enjoying it. It was almost as if it was going to be a hobby of mine anyway. So if I can at the same time record and take advantage of that, as my son mentioned, hey, start a channel, see what happens, and just go from there and see where it lands.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I wanted to take a quick second to tell you about our sweepstakes casino of the week, Crown Coins. Crown Coins is one of my favorite sweepstakes casinos because it's available almost everywhere in the US and Canada. It's got an amazing selection of slots and one of the best welcome bonuses that we've seen. When I first signed up, I bought a gold coin package for $6.99, and I got 25 sweepstakes coins completely free. And remember, sweepstakes coins can be redeemed for cash prizes at a rate of 1 SC to 1 USD. If you want to give it a try, use the sign up link in this video's description, or head to slotsfan.com and search Crown Coins to read our in-depth review with tons more information. To play on Crown Coins, you have to be at least 18 years old and not located in a restricted state or province. And as always, remember to play responsibly. Thanks so much, and now back to the show.
It makes total sense. So many people that we talk to were in the same position where they were doing it anyway and having a blast and social. And it's not like they started doing those things in order to make a channel. It was more like, let's just turn on a camera and capture. And that's, I think, so many spaces on YouTube, the most authentic content creators are those people who would be doing it anyway because they love it. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get, you have the privilege of having a window into what they're doing. And no, it's so cool. And after having seen your channel, it seems like you're a natural social person, and that it's a really good fit. Your excitement for the games, but also it seems like your excitement for the social aspect of chat, like I mentioned in the live streams. But yeah, it was so cool to dive into your channel a little bit. I wanted to ask you a question about, you said you started as a blackjack player. Yeah. I kind of went through a similar experience where I started as a poker player, and for years and years, I think I looked down on slots a bit. Like I was like, it's silly. You're just losing your money. Like, you might as well just give your money away. Yep. For me, there was a lot of steps that kind of opened my eyes and, helped me to understand why slots are the most popular format of gambling. What was it like for you? And, you mentioned Wheel of Fortune. I think that's the most popular slot franchise ever. So it's got to be a good entry point. But what was that experience like for you? And how did your thinking about slots change to the point where it kind of became your main hobby and now a channel?
Yeah, it's a great question, and certainly went through the same thoughts of, here are my friends and other slot players, not really being able to have an outcome. We just press a button in slots and we hope that the random number generator or luck is on our side to deliver us or give us a win or a bonus or whatever the outcome of that spin may be. And I think that's probably what it was. It was the sounds, the lights of the machine, the excitement of it just takes one spin. And it was probably that Wheel of Fortune, which I mentioned earlier about, you hear the wheel of fortune when you get a bonus, the excitement of that alone, and then wondering what you're going to get when the wheel spins. And then on other machines, are you going to land a bonus? The kind of the mind trickery of you get one of the bonus symbols, you get a second bonus symbol, Am I going to get the third? You got 3 reels to get a third, and then you don't get it. So I think it was a lot of that kind of thrill seeking and excitement of you just don't know what that next spin is going to deliver. I can't tell you how many times I've been down to just pennies or a lucky chance spin on a machine, and you get a bonus, and it just changes the outcome. So it was kind of like the thought that no matter what the bankroll is, $20, $40, 60, 100, whatever your bankroll is, it's just one spin can change everything. Whereas in blackjack, or maybe poker for you, cards or something else, sure, one hand might change it a little bit, but how quickly the up and down and the thrill ride and the roller coaster of it all and the unknown of it all. And probably in the end, the big wins. The biggest wins I've ever experienced, have been on slot machines. And I think that's, when you get a little bit of a taste of that, I think that's when you're probably hooked at playing some slots.
Yeah, I think it's like a variable reward schedule is so powerful for humans. It seems like it just really gets us, like, when it's not a sure thing. I think, like with blackjack, it's going to be hard to get 1,000x win unless there's some kind of side bet jackpot or something going on.
Exactly.
So I hear you. When you explain it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the games, it's almost like you get to just kind of switch off. It's like you get to relax when you're playing slots and just focus on having fun and socializing. And it's 100%. Like poker. Some people play poker like they're gambling and don't care, but and same with blackjack. It's a lot of mental energy. It's like you mentioned, you painted the picture of you grinding it out at the blackjack table with your friends, having a blast and high-fiving over at the slot machine. And it's and everybody likes their own stuff. So everything's a lot of fun, but that social aspect of slots and the possibility of the really big wins is really exciting. And also the games, like I never really appreciated how immersive and how much work and thought and art and sound and it's psychology and all this kind of stuff goes into the game. So that was a real eye opener for me as well when I started getting into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You mentioned before the show that you're a commercial pilot. Yep. You get to fly all over the country. I actually noticed on your channel, you mentioned that you won't be making some regular trips to Florida, and maybe that ties into your ability to shoot at casinos to make videos. Can you share what it's like being a pilot and maybe how that ties in to your passion for slots and your channel and maybe some of the opportunities that the travel has afforded you? Yeah.
So I've been a commercial pilot for quite a long time now. It's been my career. I've been very fortunate and blessed to work with private families and companies all across the United States. It's taken me internationally and to every state in the United States and Alaska and Canada, Mexico, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, everywhere. And it's been really interesting. And especially as I've taken a love to slots over the last probably 4 years, really seriously. I still played them over the years, but not seriously and regularly as my hobby or a channel even. But it's been really interesting to travel about and just go check out the casinos and see the different casinos, whether they're a bingo style casino or Indian reservation casino or a more brand name casino and large casino like maybe you'll find in Las Vegas, Biloxi, Atlantic City, or throughout the Florida areas with the Hard Rock brands and the various casinos. It's been really interesting. There are some European countries I've traveled to where the casinos are owned by the government, believe it or not, and regulated strictly by the government and run and owned by the government. And, I think there's a lot of speculation and theories out there for, ownership of casinos and payouts and various things like that. But, at the end of the day, as we know, it's all luck and it's all random number generator. And for me, it's always interesting to see when you're in another country or in another state or even another city, just how different the casinos are in the games. I've noticed the biggest difference is the types of games they have. It's not all like what we experience here in the United States, or maybe even some of the various style casinos across the United States, whether they're Indian reservation casinos, whether they're state regulated casinos, whatever the type they may be. It's probably the type of games that are in there. I've had great luck and experience everywhere, all across the world, with various casinos and visiting them. I've noticed, though, it is probably the games that are different, whether it's licensing agreements and things like that. But it's been fun. Cards seem to be a little bit popular to some of the locations I've been internationally, card games, but they still have plenty of the slot machines that are out there. For me personally, I like to just go and experience the ambiance of the casino as well. Kind of what's the biggest games? What are the most maybe that are populated with patrons and customers at a casino? What are they playing most of? I have some right here in Western New York that would be more of, I guess, my local casino. I can almost walk to it, probably a bad thing. But what do they have most of? What seems to be hitting? What's the most excitement around here? But yeah, it's been interesting. Definitely interesting traveling around as a commercial pilot. It's allowed me to see again an international experience, and casinos that you have to either have a passport to get into. They regulate you in and coming out. Just a really different style of casinos. Sometimes they're very very limited games that are around, and it truly is it's something that I would say the international community, from my experience, is probably not as popular with them as it is for maybe in the United States and the patrons and customers that might visit the casinos over there versus here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like online slots, maybe because they're so much more accessible, also occupy a bigger part of the space in Europe compared to the US.
Mm-hmm.
How many casinos do you figure you've been to?
Oh my goodness. I would probably say it's, at this point in my career, well over 100 casinos, at least, maybe 120. I think I tried to count this at one point, but I started getting lost in the count. And I say that in the sense of, I do have some habit-forming routines of visiting my favorite casinos, especially if it's a known trip or a known destination for me, just to, we all have our superstitions as slot players. Sure. And, I don't have to wear the same shoes or the underwear or the boxers or the socks or the shirts or something like that. But, I think we have our routines and habits, and, sometimes that's good. And I think that can go as deep as a bankroll and how you play and what you put money in the machine, when you cash out, different things like that. But, on the scale of casinos, could I have visited 1,000 casinos? Probably. But I think last count, I'm probably at around 120, maybe a little bit more than that. And again, that's also a self-inflicted thing and a kind of a rule I put on myself, just to not get a little too careless when I'm traveling and on the road.
Well, it's cool that you have time when you're traveling for work, that you actually get to go check some places out. So perhaps over 120 casinos. Yeah. What are your favorite casinos? Maybe you could give us a top 3 favorite casinos for slot players that you've visited. Favorite
casino for slot players. I would probably say I do really enjoy the Hard Rock casinos in the United States. I've had a lot of enjoyment. I've had a lot of success. Probably my biggest wins as well. Well, for sure, my biggest wins, and I'm happy to share that in a moment with you, at the Hard Rock casinos there. I would say prior to Hard Rock purchasing the Mirage was one of my favorite casinos as well in Las Vegas. But I also have quite a soft spot for El Cortez, because when I was a card player, which is a casino in North Las Vegas, kind of the old school on Fremont, off of Fremont Street area, they had the best odds for playing, and I always looked at that as a card player for the best odds. Of course, now it's garnering a lot more attention. A lot more big channels are hanging out at El Cortez, and it's made quite a splash on the internet and social media. But just a great place. I think they still have coin operated if I remember correctly. I think they still have some. I think they don't want to get rid of them, but you can still hear that clinking in the background at El Cortez. So that's probably my top three, but I know Mirage is a Hard Rock now. So if I was to have to pick another one, I've really enjoyed going to my local casinos recently, and I haven't visited them in the past, and that's the Seneca casinos here in the New York area. There's quite a few. There's Niagara, downtown Buffalo area. They have Allegheny. There's quite a few in this area. I've really enjoyed them. Just great ambiance. They have a lot of patrons, customers that come in, especially in the Niagara Falls area, close to Canada, and they pick up quite an international community and customer base coming in, but just a lot of games as well, and just an awesome building and environment. For me, I know it sounds silly. We would all like to think that we're only going to go to the casinos that, pay us best, if you will, or whatever. But I really enjoy the ambiance. Is there a restaurant? Can I grab a coffee? Can I, have maybe a glass of wine? It's something I like to do when I do live slots and do my live streams. What's the ambiance? Is there music playing in the background? For me, it's all about the total experience of the casino as well.
I love slot players and gamblers in general. It's like if you have a big win or you win a bunch, you'll just like that place or that game or whatever's playing. You could be like the worst place. You're like, it's the best.
Yeah. Well, and I still have a soft spot for my biggest win casinos. I mean, you have to, right? You have to. Yeah. So
I'm excited to ask you about some of your big win stories, but I noticed in that post that you said your locals don't let you shoot like long form and lives. Do you think that might change? Like, how big of a difference would it be if you were able to actually record stuff in your own area? Yeah.
And you brought up a point that I wanted to hit on as well. So I have seasonal travel with my current job that takes me down to Florida, and I have, one of my probably other favorite casinos would be the casino at Dania Beach, because they do allow me to record. They allowed me to record from day one as a very small channel, and they've just been very supportive in that nature for slot channel and influencers in general. It's just been a great experience. But so I don't get down there on a regular basis, kind of in the spring, summertime. I do think it would be, a huge difference if I could film locally, just to allow me not that pressure of having to travel out of town, potentially incur the extra expenses in that, or having to back it up on work. I don't want to say always on call, but you always want to be available to your company and your job and as you're working. So it does put a little bit of pressure on me when I am traveling with work, to make sure that I'm never too much out of pocket or too far away from the phone. I think it would make a huge difference. Not only that, I think it would just be nice to hey, I'm local. I can support the casino. I can help promote the casino, promote responsible gambling for anyone that's coming in. There are a lot of people that have joined my lives in the past that are from this area and frequent the Seneca casinos that I mentioned earlier quite a bit. So I do look forward to one day maybe that becoming an option for me. I don't know if I need to be a bigger channel. I've certainly, tried all the avenues of reaching out and trying a business proposal of a promotion with them. For me, it's always about, making sure that it's not just myself I'm looking out for, because I really want to partner with the casinos and provide an opportunity of, hey, what kind of reach do I have to my social media engagement with the people that come, whether they're viewers, whether they're subscribers, everyone I would say who probably watches not just my channel, but all of the slot influencers, and whether it's lives or long form shorts and everything in between, we're all gamblers. We're all probably going to be visiting a casino in the very near future. Yeah. So I'd love that partnership with the local casino, that it's kind of in my backyard, you know what I mean? And just going to them and just, having a good time with them.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And I try to preach the exact same thing to casinos. And I'm curious, in your experience, what are the roadblocks that are stopping that from happening? Is it a policy thing? Is it just a lack of desire for them to even want to address this whole situation? Or what do you think, how could we make it easier for casinos like your locals to say, heck yeah, let's get you in here. Because there's obviously lots of upside. So there must be something standing in the way.
Yeah. And, I know that, there's a really, really large channel out there that has an opportunity to film at the Seneca casinos here in town. And despite my efforts, which have been, multiple and many times, and a lot of patience involved there, I know that some maybe just don't want maybe the hassle of some of it, whether it's just too much attention, take it away from the guest experience and the other customers that are there. For me in my live streams, I'm pretty excitable. I enjoy playing slots, and I love the engagement with the audience and the viewers for me. And the only thing I can think of is that it just becomes either they're looking at a certain number of subscribers and maybe how large the channel is. Maybe they're really looking at the return on investment of allowing a social media influencer or YouTube channel or, whatever platforms you may be on to come in and, hey, what's the benefit going to be for me as a casino? The only thing I can really think it could be would be that maybe the guest experience and the customer experience for those there, making sure that the lines aren't going to be blurred with, the policy of it. I really haven't ever received a good answer. And this has been from any casino that has said, no, you can't do it. Some, you just don't even get a response, and that's fine. I mean, it's no angst or, I'm not upset of it. I just wish I'd love to engage in a conversation, start there, find out their needs, find out their yeses, their nos, find out truly the policy. Because I think that we all know as YouTube influencers and making slot content that, we want to capture only our machine and our play. We certainly don't ever want to capture anyone else without their permission in the film. A lot of channels, you'll see they do the carpet walk if they're doing live streams. They don't want to put anyone else's face. I try to go FaceTime where I can just, talk with the viewers and the audience as I'm walking around to the various casinos. And sometimes, I might pick up some other people in the casino, and obviously it's completely, unexpected and not intentional. But I can only think it's just maybe either just a blanket rule where they don't even want to get into it. And they just say, let's not even, not waste time, but it's a lot of time and energy in it, having someone manage that. And then maybe the guest experience, they just want to make sure they keep that intact for anyone else coming in. There are a lot of gamblers and players that frequent casinos that really like that quiet time. They use it as a downtime. They use it as an out time. And, maybe they don't need money mat slots right next to them, really excited on a machine or, doing a live stream and getting a little loud and rowdy. But, for me, that's truly why I do it, just because it's just so thrilling and exciting.
So maybe it's just a fit for the right brands, the right casinos. I think when we mentioned El Cortez, it's pretty hard to argue that there hasn't been a huge positive effect from their embracing of slots influencers over the last years. Yeah. So maybe for the right brands and the right locations, it's a bit more in line with the experience that they want and what they're doing with their marketing department and other stuff. Yeah,
and I can see that, and I've seen that again locally. One of the really large channels I mentioned, he was able to come in, and it's a big event. You know what I mean? It's a meet and greet. It's a big revenue generator for the casinos, and I can understand that value proposition for them. And same as for me. And again, I never look at it as just what am I going to get out of it in the experience. I'm very good at promoting the casino at Dania Beach during lives, putting them on thumbnails, really trying to get the word out. Yeah. Them. My host has even stepped on as I'm live to engage with the audience and viewers as well. So that's how married we are together. And for me, that's the experience I would love to create with any casino out there, just to say, hey, I'm here for you as much as you would potentially be here for me or any other channel for that matter. But yeah, I do think you're right. I think for the right brand and the right, business, outlook and, hey, what we're trying to get out of this as a business. And, again, I'm happy to work together with any casino that would take advantage of that.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of kind of casino marketing and slots influencers and how they work together, I'd love to talk to you about your lives in particular. I'm seeing some huge numbers. I know the vertical lives on YouTube can really open up the visibility of these streams in the shorts feed. But I saw your last live from like a month ago. It was like 44,000 views. That's a huge number, especially for a channel of your size. Can you tell us about your experience with lives and how you've gotten that to work on your channel, and maybe some insights into how it's going and what you get out of it?
Yeah. So, for me early on, my goal was to get to a point where I could do lives and I could garner an audience or viewership that wants to watch my channel. And it's kind of experience the play, the interaction. And, that was always a goal of mine, just because, I'm a real social person. I don't think I've ever met a stranger. I'm very comfortable in front of a room of people, much less, potentially, I think, at any given time, anywhere from, 500 up to, I think I've had 12, 13, 14, 1,500 at a time in chat, 40 to 55,000 views in lives. And what I've really found amazing is the worldwide audience that I've had. I like to do these things during my lives. It's about every half hour to top of the hour of when I'm doing a live, is I'll do a location check. And I just want to find out, where's the farthest person watching from. I mean, I've had them all across the world. Obviously, Australia, very big audience, the UK, and places in Europe. I have people joke all the time about being in different locations, making jokes of where they're at. But it's been such a worldwide connection with an audience for the love of gambling. And I'm going to guess at some of these locations, whether it's India, I've heard people all over the world, I don't know if they can gamble or have the opportunity to gamble. And so it's almost like maybe they're living a little bit vicariously through Money Mat Slots as well. But it's also about the engagement in the chat. I have found myself sometimes, so my whole setup is I'll have the vertical live stream camera up, which changed the game for everyone, that's for sure. As people are scrolling through, they can just come to your live out of nowhere, as maybe they were watching something else, but it's in the short stream now on YouTube. And, if there's engaging activity or chat or something fun going on, they're going to stick around for a little bit and, want to see what's happening. But for me, it's, you do these location checks and you start to connect with a worldwide audience, and it just starts to boggle the mind at how many people are in here. I don't want to have people have to subscribe to me to chat. There's some channels that do it. They do it very successfully. And again, hey, it's to each their own on the channels. I just want people to subscribe to my channel if they like the content and they enjoy the chat. So for me, it's kind of always been a little bit about that viewership experience and the chat experience. I have fantastic mods. Slot Crush is my first, and I call her the OG mod. She was from day one when I had one subscriber. And I have Majestic Slots, who's a great friend of mine and helping me out. Macvillain Slots, Midwest Slots, Chris and Lou. I've had more in the past, but these have kind of been my, if you want to say, ride or die now moderators. And a lot of it hinges on great moderation as well. We try to keep it as positive as possible, good vibes only in the chat. We have fun every once in a while, get a little silly. We try to stay away from, crass topics and conversation. It's hard sometimes. It gets a little slippery, have a wine or two.
It's an adult audience, at least.
Yeah. But having great mods, keeping the chat and the momentum going as well. But I find myself, sometimes I'll be looking the chat at, so much and just tapping the button, just tap, and then, oh, I got a bonus. Look at that. Didn't even know. So that's kind of my setup. I'll have the vertical stream, an iPad going so I can see the chat. I have like 2 devices and I got, microphones, and you're going and you're just, half the time I'll probably pop a bonus and not even know it. And I look down and I go, oh, I got a bonus. Well, let's do a bonus, So for me, it's just engaging and really trying to connect with everyone in the room. I really make an effort to say hi to everyone in the room if I can. I do giveaways, kind of just spreading the wealth and sharing it, sort of passing it forward, if you will, or paying it forward. I really try to make it about, look, I'm going to be doing this anyway as a hobby. I'm really enjoying it. It's because of everyone that's watching the channel and supporting me that I can even, do what I'm doing for lives and live streams and putting out content. Because honestly, if it wasn't for the viewers and the subscribers and the membership and the channel, it'd be very difficult to want to continue doing it. Would I still do it as a hobby? For sure. But as you know, and the other channels on here, it's a lot of effort to do it. But boy, I tell you, it is worth it in the end, every single bit of it, because of the viewership and the subscribers and that engagement in the lives. And yeah, it's been really exciting to see these numbers on some of the lives. And honestly, I'm taken back and really humbled by it that, like you said, I mean, I think I'm around 7,300, 7,400 subscribers right now. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that I would, even get 1,000 people during a 1, 2, 3 hour live, much less the numbers I've seen. And I'm obviously very grateful and excited for the future of the channel.
That's so cool. I mean, I think it seems a lot healthier to see a, subscriber number. It just seems like it's less and less important in terms of like the health and size of your channel. People are looking at the views way more. And I think, like you mentioned, like the viewers that come in through the shorts feed are a lot different than they may be potentially loyal, like community members, but at that stage, like people who make people subscribe might get a lot of subs, but they're like really low performing subs overall. So I feel like your strategy is a good one, and any barrier that's going to stop people from participating and maybe like becoming that authentic like fan of yours probably is going to hurt you. No, but congratulations on all the numbers that you're doing. And I can really understand how motivating and maybe how gratifying it is to be able to connect with so many people. Like you said, I think a lot of people they're in a place where they don't have access to a casino. Maybe they just love slots, and it's another way for them to enjoy the thrill of playing without having to go, having to spend money. And you get that social experience, like the relationships that are built in the chat in live streams is like mind blowing how authentic, and these things turn into real life friendships.
They do
more and more these days. So it's really cool.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you about your big wins. I feel like I should do this earlier in the show because it's like the first thing any fan actually wants to hear. But you mentioned your biggest win or wins being at Hard Rock casinos. Can you tell us some of your most memorable stories, biggest wins or most memorable wins from your career?
Yeah. So believe it or not, it was before the channel, right before the channel. And I was at the Hard Rock in Sacramento, and I was playing a Crystal Star machine and Crystal Star Deluxe. And I think I put $100, $200 in it. And I was doing max bet. I had no idea. It was a quarter denomination. I had no idea the math of 45 credits times 25 until I won. And it was $11.25 bet. But I just kind of was in that mode of, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I don't remember my total bankroll I took to the casino that day. It might've been like $400 or $500. And so I just dropped in $200 and started spending. I think I was only 4 spends in, again, at $11.25. I hit the 9th line with the Crystal Stars and popped a 14,500 and change win. I had no idea. It just said jackpot, and I'm looking at the machine and lights are going off, and I look up and it's the very top one, which is very hard to get. I mean, if you think about the random number generator and the statistics of hitting that and the luck of it, and it was incredible. Obviously, it got a lot of attention in the casino that day, and that was my biggest win ever. But I backed that up that same night with hitting a max major on a Dragon Link machine for $10,000. And it was like anything.
That's crazy. I mean, that's like once in a lifetime thing for lots of people hitting either,
I couldn't believe it. And, obviously you can't recreate that. And, a lot of people say there's a saying out there that scared money never wins. Right. And, because we start to manipulate how we maybe play the machines. That's why I really try to keep this as much as just a hobby and having fun as possible. And I'm not out there to make money doing this per se. I have a full-time job and a career that leads me that way. And I set aside, funds that when I go to the casino that I can do this. But yeah, for me, that night was it was incredible.
That's crazy.
It was just one of those nights.
Like, and then of course, $25,000 in a day.
And then they want to bring you back. So I ended up coming back, I think a couple of weeks later, and hit another maxed major on a high limit Lightning Link machine, $10,000 plus change. It was just over $12,000. And then I hit another major that was around I had
all at the same location? Or?
All at the same location. Yeah. And then of course, you get a host real quick. And again, this is before my channel. So I had probably a 2 or 3 month period where I was so fortunate. It was like another income, quite honestly, from playing slots, which has never to be repeated again. But it's those wins of, like I mentioned earlier, of, it only takes one spend, and the money invested. I know that's a big question. Everyone always asks, well, how much did you put in the machine to win it? And it was very minimal for those wins. But again, if I try to recreate that organically of just going out, and you're never going to reproduce it. So for me, it was an incredible couple months, 3 months. And then it was probably not 4 months after that, 5 months after that time period, I ended up starting the channel and going from there. And, I'll always have that deep down inside, those wins, which I can always kind of revert back to and lean on a little bit for the possibility of one spin. But, they were also pretty big bets. That was an $11.25 bet on the crystal machine, and then $12.50 bet. Those have been my biggest wins. I've had some other very random, smaller, 1,000x multiplier wins on smaller bets, but to have those big number wins, yeah, I was very fortunate.
That's wild that it happened so in such a small period of time and all at the same location. I mean, that's like more bigger wins than a lot of players will have in their entire life.
I would agree. And I'll tell you too, that I came back for probably 6 months, 7, 8, 9 months, trying to somewhat reproduce those results, and I did not get them. So, I had to tighten my belt, and you got to know when to walk away, obviously. And for that, I had a great time. Again, they're a great casino. Highly recommend anyone out there, and especially on the West Coast in that Sacramento area, if you want to visit it. It's a great casino, great hosts out there. Haven't been in a while. They keep asking me to come back. I might have an opportunity in the future in August to get back there and just say hi, connect with some friends and hosts. But great experience, great casino, and like you said, really tough to do that. And again, luck of the draw, and really was on my side that time.
I mean, that's what it's all about. It's all just luck. And we hope to be fortunate and have those big moments. It's like in so many things like golf, or, people remember the big highlights and keeps them going through the times that are not going so well.
That's true. That's true.
It's also true for so many influencers. It feels like strokes of luck like that kind of open up the possibility of having a channel. Yeah. Not just the excitement, but you're like, okay, I've got some money I can like put towards this now if I want to. Yep. I always feel like there's like the gambling gods spot some kind of mark when they're a beginner and they give them a massive win because they know it's like just one win now, they're coming back.
Let's just hook them now. Yeah.
We've sort of touched on it a little bit. The truth about slots, like you've said really clearly, is that it's 100% luck based. Yep. The odds are against you in the long run.
Sure.
In the long run, it's going to be a cost. It's an entertainment cost. Yep. And we talked about a lot of the reasons why it's so much fun. You mentioned responsible gambling and being an advocate or being an ambassador on behalf of casinos. And I'm curious, on your channel, how much of a factor is that? And what are some of the messages that you like to get across to your audience? Because I do think that slots influencers inherently are normalizing a potentially risky behavior. Yep. And, I don't know if you'd say there's an obligation, but you're definitely helping shape the way people think about gambling. So how does that play into your approach to your channel? Yeah,
it's a great question. And I think you hit a word that I think is resonating among the community of slot influencers. And that is almost an obligation of putting it out there. I put it on every video, every shorts. I put it on every live in the description. I also talk about it as frequently as I can. Never go to a casino with money you don't plan to lose, spend, not walk away with. I'm fortunate that I have a career and a lifestyle that allows me to put some money aside that I'll put as kind of a money mat slots fund, if you will. But bankroll doesn't really matter. I would say for anyone, whatever the dollar amount might be, just know that when you go to the casino, look, there's a high probability you're going to lose that money. But I do it in the sense of I should say this. I want you to look at it and do slots or play them as a hobby and entertainment. If you can get value out of that and have a good time doing it, you should play slots. If you're not having fun playing slots and you're so worried about either chasing a win or getting a win, or you're not getting a win and you're not having fun, just cash out or just don't play and go home. Maybe come again another day. I try to say it as frequent as I can during the live, just to put it out there. I do big bankrolls on my live sometimes. Sometimes it's a couple $1,000, $3,000. I mean, some of my toughest nights. I mean, I've had really, really bad nights. Knowing that at any given time that could change with one spend. But look, I'm coming to the casino with money that I plan to lose and not walk away with. But I also look at it as I want to look at it over time of what you mentioned of, what's an entertainment budget like for me? If I'm putting that against any other hobby I might do, whatever it is, if it's, some people like to travel and they love experiences and, some people are into cars and, hot rods and different things like that. Some could be into, whatever hobby it might be at home. There's always a cost to doing a hobby. And that's what I really try to look at. What am I spending over any given period? 1 month look back might be pretty ugly, but if I can, after a quarter or a 6-month period or an end of a year, where am I sitting with my hobby of what I'm spending in the casino? I always try to go to the casino. I never try to take out money at a casino as well. I think there's a lot of channels out there that feel the same. Leave your ATM card in your car or in the hotel room or at home in a safe spot. Just take that money and cash that you have already, go to the casino, enjoy it and have fun. And see where that gets you for a night. But again, most of all, if you're not having fun playing slots and, it's causing some stress or angst, I just recommend, hey, just cash out, go home, do it again another day and see where and if luck is on your side the next day.
Yeah, that's a great message, and also easier said than done sometimes for lots of people, which can, I think is the reason that it's so important to highlight some of the risks along with all the fun parts too. Mm-hmm. But I feel that so much, like if I go play golf for the day, I'm spending more money than my normal trip to the casino probably. And there's no chance I'm winning anything at the golf course or go to a movie these days. That's really interesting way to look at it. And I think over time, over the long run is a great way to look at it too, because it's so up and down.
It is.
And you get these big wins. I think it's also the case that you get, your positive EV, your value comes in slots in particular in such big amounts sometimes that you're so much more likely to just burn that money. You want to play higher, you want to stay, you want to have fun. It's you got to realize that RTP that you're talking about is a long-term thing. And even for myself, the one money is so different to me than earned money or anything else. So I feel that really contributes to the casino's bottom line in a positive way, but also something just to be really aware of, how many people have I talked to that have a 10K win? And it's well, how much did you walk out of the casino with? Or it's well, maybe we shouldn't talk about how things ended up going that night. Not to say it's not fun, but it's so easy to think oh, this is a free roll now. But no, you've been paying for that the whole time to get a chance for that big win.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. I'm a firm believer in, you can read books and methodology of slots, they talk about RTP, being on, based on, 1 million spends through the machine or whatever it may be. And, I know that for me personally, my experience of slot play is how many spends I can get through a machine. If I can, get a large number of spends, that's why with, say my bankroll, if I'm, say $500 bankroll and I'm playing, in my mind, if I do $2.50 spends, I'm going to get 200 spends out. If I do $5 spends, I'm gonna get 100 spends. So I always try to look at this of just thinking, how much play can I get? How much entertainment value can I get out of this? What is this going to look like at the end of it? And, again, being a complete random number generator and just luck of the draw, I just like to lengthen my time as much as I can playing slots. And for me personally, in my experience, I have found that over a given time period, that tends to be a little more palatable on the budget and the bankroll. But yeah, I have to look at it over a time. And the big wins can certainly come in, some, myself included. I talk about it as house money. It's house money, so it wasn't mine to begin with. So we typically can burn through that. But, I think if you're just smart and a savvy slot player, we get better and better. At least I hope we do. I try to, of putting that money aside. Sometimes I'll ask the casino, if I get a really big win, I'll take a check for most of it.
Yeah, that's always a good tip.
Yeah, where I can't spend it that night. Or I'll do, a check for most of it, a little bit of spending cash to play with, put my other bankroll away, go upstairs, put it in the safe, go home, something like that. I try to step away from it and just sort of regroup. I've done that numerous times playing, go grab a coffee, go have a little snack, just walk around, get outside, take me away from that. Let me calm down. That big thrill of the win, we're really hopped up. But yeah.
I mean, I think the anticipation is also a big, even if it's the anticipation while it's spinning or leading up to a session, for me is some of the most fun time. So playing that up definitely helps. I have a few more common questions that I'm excited to ask. You talked about visiting 120 plus casinos. It sounds like you've got your favorites. And I always like to ask people about comps and casino loyalty programs and any other tips that you might have, if we're talking about helping people get the most out of their experience. What do you recommend, and how do you find the best rewards, or what works the best for you when you're playing? Yeah,
it's a great point. I always recommend playing with a player's card, and simply for that, one, you get points when you play. As many may know, if you're a fan of this channel and others, that every time you play slots, it's the highest value for getting your points at a casino or a resort. And I always recommend and do play with a player's card. You get points to get food. You get free play off of that. And so I always try to look and balance at my comps at the end of a given period as well, not just the return for me overall, or the entertainment value of where I'm at after a quarter, 6 month, or at the end of the year. I want to use all of my comps I possibly can and do it in a smart way as well. I always take advantage of the free play when I can. I'll take a set budget to go in with that. I'll play with the free play. I always like to try to turn free play into something as well. It's in my mind, this, what can I make? $20, $80, $100, $200, whatever the free play might be. Sometimes I'll match that from a bankroll for the day. Sometimes I'll just play on the free play. But I like to do that because, to me, some say, well, I got a free room, I got free meals, I got a free concert. Well, we know nothing in life is free, right? Comps aren't either, right? We're paying for that. But I think if you use all of those comps to your advantage, in Las Vegas, if you have 4 comped nights, free nights of a hotel and some free play and say $100 dining credit, there's a lot of value there. At the end of the day, that might be $400, $500, $600 to somebody, depending on where you're staying. If you can go in with a smart budget, you got a great airfare to get into Las Vegas, or if you're local, or if it's Atlantic City, Biloxi, local here in the Western New York area with the Senate casinos down in South Florida at the Hard Rock casinos. There's a lot of value in taking advantage of those comps. You have, quite frankly, paid for them. So I always say use those comps to your advantage, especially the meal comps that you can put points towards meals. I've had the opportunity of going to some great concerts at the casino at Dania Beach. I mean, they have an awesome live venue stage there. The free play stacks up and adds up. Sometimes I've taken free play, if you notice, if there's any other slot players out there that see this, you'll sometimes have free play ending on one night, starting the next day. I've, gone a little late night owl. If you've seen some of my lives, they go pretty late into the morning sometimes, where at 11:59, I might have used up, say $100, $150 or whatever the free play is. And then at 12 o'clock, it resets and I get another 50, 75, $100, 150. So I like to back those up too. The casino in Sacramento, I mentioned for some of my biggest wins, I've been there and just gone to bed and woken up the next day and used it as another day. I was out of my bankroll or something for that day. I'm like, okay, let me just go to sleep. I have some more free play for tomorrow, use it the next day. And then, by noon or something, I'm driving home. So I really think it's a great idea that if you can back up and use all of those comps to each other, including in your bankroll that you want to spend in the casino, you can get a ton of value out of it, instead of paying for the resort nights and the fees and the, all of that. You could really find yourself going in and saying, wow, I only spent $100 on my bankroll and I got a free room as well and a free meal. Now, most, if you're doing a trip to Las Vegas or you're going out of town for, you're probably going to take a little more money. But I think it's always wise to just, hey, what are my comps? What do I have? And look, another thing, just ask your host. If you have a host, or just call a host desk or have a conversation with someone. You never know. You might be really surprised that your slot play has given you a lot of comps that that you're just not aware of. And again, you don't get what you don't ask for. So I always tend to ask as well. And you'd be surprised. The hosts really are great people. I've never met a bad host. Quite frankly, I hear that. They're there for you. I mean, obviously, they want you to play slots, but they also want you to have a good time and succeed and have fun and have entertainment. Because if you're not going to come back, or maybe you're going to go to a different casino, and they want that business. You're a customer to them. But you should probably just ask as well. And hey, can I get this? Can I get that? I've done it. Even when I've had no comps, or I'm new to a casino. Sometimes they'll back up loyalty programs and card memberships, or if you're a member at Hard Rock Unity member, you might be able to take that membership and go to an MGM property, and they might match it, or even other off-brand casinos, Indian reservation casinos, whatever they may be. Just ask. You never know what you might get in those comps as well.
I want to ask about some myths and stuff like that. And the whole, does playing with a player's card make you less lucky is a common myth that I still hear. Yeah. But it sounds like, it's cool, because when I look at reports from Vegas, year over year, people are spending less money, less of the casino's revenue is coming from actual gambling and more is coming from dining and experiences and shows and all this stuff. And so to me, pick the casino that you like the experiences at, because a lot of the comps, it's not just free play. It's the place that you're going to be spending your time. Yeah. Also, you mentioned Hard Rock, networked casinos are really cool. Mm-hmm. Being able to travel to other locations based on the rewards that you're earning, maybe at your local casino or somewhere that you have more access to. Mm-hmm. But on that point of casino myths, I usually I want to ask you two questions. One is, what are some casino myths that you can debunk that you still hear? And what are some of the things, and these may be similar things, that the casinos don't want you to know? I say that because YouTube loves this phrase, things the casino don't want you to know. But does anything come up for you based on all your experience about myths that you still see that people believe that aren't true? And any other tips or secrets or hacks or anything else that maybe the casino doesn't want to make super obvious, but that are true?
Yeah. Well, obviously, we can hit on the player's card. My biggest wins have been using a player's card. Can you win without a player's card, or lose without a player's card, or both? Of course, you know what I mean? But I look at it this way. If I'm going to put money into a machine, I want my player's card in it so that I get something out of it in the end. If I lose that money, I have gained something in comps or points with that casino. So what that's going to be in the end, is all determined on the casino and how they apply a dollar in and a point. Some you might spend $1 and you get 1 point. Some you might have to spend $5 or $10 and you get 1 point. It just depends on how that works. But for me, I think that is a big myth that, I talk about it on my lives and my channel. I say, always play with a player's card. Do I forget every once in a while, especially during a live after going 2 or 3 hours? But sure, every once in a while, but it's very rare. Matter of fact, I've done it quite a few times where people in the chat have actually told me, hey, your player's card, put your player's card in, or it's not working, reinsert it. And the other thing too is that, your free play comes off of your player's card. So if you don't have your player's card in, you can't utilize your free play. And if you pull it out, it'll stop and it goes away. So I think that's probably a big myth that, and I guess I've heard, and I've even had friends who, I pulled my player's card out and then I hit the bonus right away. And, again, random number generator, it's luck. And it's just that spin. The minute you hit that spin, it doesn't matter. I think another little myth I've heard every once in a while is, make sure you play the slot machines that are on the very end, because they want the people to walk and buy them with all the attention and the excitement. Well, I played a slot machine in the corner of a casino, and there was nobody around, and I hit, a jackpot, just over $1,200. So, I think that's another common myth that people think. And, it's not like the casino, like they don't have marketing people and everyone out there too. So it's like, whatever maybe is out there, I'm sure they're going to either be doing the opposite or, it's all about bringing in people and getting the foot traffic and getting the customers to come in, the patrons, to enjoy playing slots. And, obviously they want, they don't want, I think, a bad reputation. I think that they want a reputation of a great experience, a good environment of, coming in and having a good time, whether it's with your friends, family, by yourself, and being able to do more than just slots. As you mentioned about, the revenues are declining in Las Vegas, and I'm sure others could probably attest to this as well. And a lot of people want a great experience. And, I mentioned that with me. It's about the ambiance overall of the casino. What kind of experience am I going to have? Not just going in to play slots. Look, sometimes I will go in and I just, free play, hit the slots. I mean, I just did it this past weekend. I went in and I had a goal in mind. And once I hit that goal, I cashed out and I went home. I think I spent 40 minutes at the casino, a very short visit for me. But other times I've gone in and I had a different goal in mind. I wanted to have a lunch, I wanted to have a dinner, I wanted to have a full experience with it. But let's see, your question of what are maybe some of the things that casinos don't want you to know. I think
they don't want you to know what time it is or like the way how to get out of the casino.
Yeah, that is definitely one. I think a lot of people are picking up on there's no windows in here. I don't know what time it is. I don't see a clock anywhere on the wall. You don't see it anywhere of that. There's always music and loud. It's almost like it's 5 o'clock every second and every minute of the day, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, they do a good job of that, I think.
Yeah. And I think, thinking of that, reminded me of another myth of, go in the mornings, when it's really quiet and no one there. Don't go when the casinos are busy or they have an event of something going on because they're going to tighten the machines or do this or whatever. And, I would say this, at the end of the day, everything is regulated. Whether or not it's visible and public to us or not, there's regulations for all of them. A lot of the machines are already set. And maybe there's a small variance that the casino itself can change on the machine. But again, look, it's, I want you to sit down and have a great time playing slots and do it responsibly. And, the myths out there, again, I've debunked and dispelled a couple of those. I'm sure other channels have as well. It's all about the experience and, picking the machine, having fun. If it's thrilling and exciting to you and you're having a good time and you're able to spread out your bankroll, your budget, and extend your play, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm curious because like you mentioned, the casino has some discretionary freedom to change the RTP within within a range that's usually mandated by the gambling commission in that state. Mm-hmm. People are stuck on this thing of like the location of the machines and other stuff changing. I wonder, can casinos use at least that discretionary range to have different machines of the same games at different RTPs in the same casino? I wonder if there's any truth to that. It's not going to change the entire gameplay or anything, but
right.
It's weird because they don't post, I get that you could go look up what the range is, but they don't really make it available, what the RTP is on the machine that you're playing right now.
Yeah.
Which seems like information that would be pretty fair to let people have. Yeah.
There's a couple theories out there that, whatever they have the most of in the casino is what they're potentially making the most money on, on the machines. And, you can say that, if that's, right when you walk in the door, stay away from those machines. Well, I would probably say play them. Why not? You know what I mean? But I remember one time I was at a casino and, just for for being fair to everyone. I won't mention any names, and they were changing the game. And I noticed.
Oh, and you can like see the screen.
I saw the blue screen, and they were programming it, and I saw the RTP on it. And I won't lie, it kind of caught my attention. But I also know they had a lot of these machines that were in the casino, and knowing that all of them probably had a variance to some degree. And at any given time, at the end of a set period, it'll have to pay out, on that particular machine, whatever they set it at. But, I think that, look, they're a business at the end of the day, and I get that. And I think that, to your point of, being fair and being able to publish that for us, whatever that is, they don't, I think it's probably what I like most about Las Vegas when I go there, because they have a gaming commission. You can, get all those results published. You can look at them. Is that going to change the way I play? Probably not, but just to know the denominations and the return to player and the win percentages and all that, it's out there and available. That's something I highly recommend to everyone as well. Any resources you can find or look up or research prior to going to a casino. Las Vegas, it's right on the Gaming Commission website. There's PDFs you can pull out. You can look at all the denominations and the payouts.
Like the actual payout, RTP, that really was paid back to things, not a posted number, but the results from a period of time. Yeah.
And I enjoy doing that. I used to do it every, I used to go at least 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes 5, 6 times a year when I was on the West Coast. And I did that for me and my friends, and we would just kind of research it, just kind of scratching our heads, wondering. And, again, personally, I don't know if it affected my gameplay and how I did it, but just to know, I guess in fairness for everyone out there of, how the machines are paying out and what they're doing. But I would say this, it's important to be comfortable in the environment you're going. It's important to, take a budget that you're willing to lose and not win on, and just see how luck treats you.
Yeah, I hear from a lot of people, influencers, but also fans of slot channels, that they're drawn, maybe even initially, but also ongoing, they're drawn to the channels because they learn about games and how they play without having to spend the time. Because like RTP is one thing, but the volatility of a game has such a big impact on your experience. And going back to our point about bringing a bankroll to the casino that you're comfortable losing, I feel like for myself and for other people, if you don't have realistic expectations of how a game's going to play, and you sit down with a couple $100 on Huff and Puff and you're betting $5 a spin, and you don't really get the RTP is one thing, but that bankroll is probably not going to get you anywhere. You burn through it way faster than you expected. Yep. You didn't have the fun you wanted. That's when you're probably I'm going to take another shot, I must have been running really bad.
Yeah.
Guess what? No, it's a huge volatility, and you see this in so many games these days. So I think the influencers can do a lot to educate people to have realistic expectations, but it would also be cool if there was a bit more transparency with the games, and may even help people be a bit more sustainable. I feel like people who gamble responsibly are the ones that are going to just keep spending money forever in a responsible way and not give up gambling because they had a horrible experience or have a problem. So I feel like it's in everyone's best interest. Yeah,
you almost bring up a good point of the transparency and the fairness of the casinos. And, it's almost like if we can bridge that gap between all of the myths and dispel all the rumors and, the misinformation that's out there about it, the casinos could probably, whether it's local, Indian reservation, bingo style, whatever it may be, they could really do a good job of exactly what you said, of creating a responsible gambler that would come back way more often, most likely, if they realize that, a lot of the rules, I would recommend people as well. And, I have my go-to games because of the lower volatility in my experience, which would be some of the original Dragon Links, Lightning Links. Some of those games I really tend to stay around because they treat me well, and I know the game very well. But hidden in all of the games is game rules, and you can step through. Sometimes there's 10 pages, sometimes there's 15 pages. Something I look at is if you bet a higher bet, and if you play a higher denomination, it will tell you that the odds increase, or they might just say change with a higher bet or a different denomination. that right there is telling you that if you did that, the chances of you winning change. So if you have an opportunity and you just have, it could be a few seconds, it can be maybe just a minute, just step through the game rules and walk through it on the machine, take a look at it and see if I play a different bet. I love a mid bet, any kind of multiplier other than a minimum bet. That's just my style of play. That's what I like to do. My biggest wins have been because of that. But that's been my experience. I just like playing in the, some kind of multiplier of a bet. I tend to get a little bit different outcome of bonuses. Not always, but again, this is my experience in playing. But I also read through all the game rules as much as I can to try to see, well, what is this going to get me if I happen to get a bonus? If luck is on my side and I get this, then what could happen? And so that's another thing too, of, going back and creating a responsible gambler from the casinos and, to the myths that are out there and dispelling them. And, it's almost like you just want to, okay, can't we all just have a conversation? I mean, it would be amazing because I think that they would get a lot more gamers in their casinos.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because there's this whole concept of like, oh, the casinos don't want you to know this. The casinos are trying to, like, you think that's in their best interest, whereas in reality, it may be the case that actually being honest and educating people, you're not going to stop people wanting to gamble.
That's right.
Like, you could do anything you want. People are still going to want to gamble. So why not try to make it as sustainable and also minimize the risk of really terrible outcomes, which is a real thing, and like people, nobody, including the casino industry, wants that to happen to anybody. So
for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think when it comes to volatility, it's kind of like slot channels. There's so many different games, and the more people can learn about how things play, I think people, the better expectations people can have, the more fun that they're probably going to have at the casino. Well, I feel like we've gone through some really awesome topics, and we've heard about your big wins. We've gotten some great casino tips. We've talked about all the locations that you've been able to visit. What's next for Money Matt Slots? It sounds like you're having a blast doing it. We talked about your lives and they're just blowing up. So where's your focus over the next while, and where are you hoping to take this channel?
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's been awesome. I really appreciate all the questions. And again, a phenomenal community that just embraces one another, and just a lot of great content and people out there. So I've really enjoyed it. I love the lives. I think that will always be something that I want to continue to do. For me, that's the best probably part. If I had to pick one favorite of having a channel and being a slot influencer, is connecting with the viewers and the fans and the subscribers, the members, and all that. I really enjoy it. The international connection and just the engagement in the chat and getting to meet new people. And like you said, you start to talk to people enough in a chat, regulars come around and they become friends. For me, I'd probably like to continue the growth if I can. I'd love to be a channel that, when I can maybe reach out to a casino that they'd want to have me, build a partnership with, that I can help them in branding their casino and or resort and bringing people in. I'd love to also focus more on long form content. When I started, shorts was kind of my thing. It's probably still a little bit of my thing in lives. And I really enjoy the shorts aspect of it. I can typically, there's some casinos that I can't long form or lives, but I can do shorts only. And I like the shorts. That's kind of how, when I started my channel, I was getting a lot of subscribers from the shorts, trying to just do that and get as great of content in my slot play as I can. But for me, it's probably going to be more long form content and then lives. I'd love to be able to do lives at least once a week if I can, maybe other week, but consistently throughout the year. I'd love to do meet and greets with the viewers, the subscribers, and the fans out there, just to put faces to names. I've had an opportunity, just went out to Slots Fiesta in March in Las Vegas.
Nice.
Met some of the people that watch me on a regular basis, which it's awesome. And the cool, the cool thing about that is, when you put a face to a name and then getting to meet them, and then when someone says, man, you're the same person right now as you are in your channel and all that. I mean, I might get a little bit more excited on my lives, but I am the same person. I mean, it's just me, you know what I mean? And, I'm just having a good time. So for me, it'll be more lives coming, and more long form content, and responsible gambling, obviously there, and just having a good time and meeting more people, like-minded individuals, and just sharing in the experiences. And it's been wonderful so far. Again, the friendships I've created in this community, especially with my moderators, it's just been great. And it's really also that pay it forward thing. I really enjoy doing little giveaways and giving back because of what's been given to me, whether it's through the slot channel or just in life in general. I'm all about the pay it forward and always looking ahead. So that's probably what I'm most excited about, is having a regular routine live, some of the long form content. I'll always do shorts. And then of course, engaging with the fans and the subscribers. That to me is really exciting.
Congratulations, Matt, on what you've achieved so far in your channel.
Thank you.
I think with your passion and, the opportunities that you have, we're so excited to follow along and watch as you grow.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to have some of your mods on the show too. I went down a little rabbit hole and went through from your chats, going to all the other channels of some of the names that you mentioned. There's some awesome channels and creators there too that we love to chat. I'm curious, have you ever looked at like Falls View or any of the Canadian casinos that are on the other side of the falls? Maybe they have more lenient shooting regulations.
Yeah, and I'm just starting to look into that. For me, it was, originally I had this goal of 5,000 subscribers, and then trying to, I can take that number and get out there, and I'm somebody now, and they're going to love it. And then of course, crickets, you know what I mean?
Show them your live numbers. Forget about the subscriber numbers. Show them your live numbers and tell them 40, 50,000.
I mean, I had, there was a time period. I had a 90-day viewership of like over 500,000 or like almost 600,000 views in 90 days and 2,000 subscribers. I mean, the number, it was just crazy. I'm so grateful. This isn't me boasting. And I put that to a casino and just crickets, nothing. And so, but I agree with you. It's, so for me, I had this number of 5,000, and then it's like, well, maybe 7,500, then 10. But you're right. For me, it's about the engagement and the viewership of it. Sub count doesn't, it matters to some, but in the end, I want, if I had 5 subscribers, but they were always there, 500, or the loyal. For me, that's what it's about. I want to bring people back because they enjoy the content. And I will start branching out a little bit more because, like you said, just right across the border is not far. And again, it's really partnering.
Your bankroll will look bigger with the exchange.
Yeah, that's true. Right now it's a little tight, but I would love that. Yeah, I'd love the opportunity. So, if there's anyone out there that maybe is watching this, reach out to me. I'd love to consider partnering.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see more organization and stuff in the casino marketing through influencer space. You can already see a lot of people coming around to it. And, I think for people like you that are authentically passionate about it and want to be doing it anyway, you're going to see more opportunities coming up. And SlotsFan.com, part of our mission is to participate in that organization and try to open up opportunities for influencers. We see so much opportunity there. I mentioned coming from a poker background. Throughout the whole poker boom, the poker professionals and characters, and it wasn't so much an influencer space back then, but almost like a poker celebrity space. But we're so instrumental in it. I feel like we're going through the same thing with slots now. Yeah. There's like a slots boom happening in terms of people understanding what casino content really is. And it's people playing the games and add to that the human, the engagement that comes along with personalities like you. It's huge. Yeah. So I think, you're in a great position at a great time. And having seen your channel, I can only expect you to continue growing. And we'd love to have you back on the show and certainly check in and help promote your channel any way that we can along the way.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm really excited for the future. And it's people like yourself and others that are just helping this community. So thank you a lot for what SlotsFan does.